Good morning for some of you and good afternoon for some other. This is Barbara Mancuni-Smith and today I'm here to talk about the idea that your germs and pathogens are responsible for your diseases. So this could be potentially a mind-blowing conversation, and I know that it was an impromptu meeting because I have other consults and groups later, so I couldn't do it, but I really wanted to kind of put this on the board for you guys to maybe dwell on it over the weekend because it's an important topic. Yesterday we talked about you being obsessed with being sick, and we addressed that. And if you haven't had the chance to watch that video, you're gonna find them on my Facebook page, this one, the Barbara Mancuni Smith, or on my YouTube channel. But today, and so from your conversations, questions started to happen. Like, I'm sorry, are you saying that our traumas are responsible for our diseases and that the body, this morning, for instance, I put a post saying that diseases is nothing but your body saying no to you living a unfulfilling and unauthentic life led by trauma. So of course, a lot of you who are very settled on and very comfortable in the knowing that germs instead are what's causing your problems, probably started to create some resistance. So I wanted to address this, and I don't want too much time to go by because I want you to create that connection between what we discussed yesterday and what we're going to be discussing today, which is, are pathogens responsible for the diseases you are experiencing? Now, as you come in and watch, please chime in, say yes, no, what is it that you believe? And as always, you can ask questions. So, now let's talk about how did we get here? How a lot of us seem to believe that, hey Sarah, hey Deborah, how a lot of us seem to believe that germs and pathogens are responsible for our diseases. Well, in the 1864, more or less, Louis Pasteur solidified what is now known as the germ theory. The germ theory postulates that microorganisms, also known as pathogens, are what lead to disease and imbalances in our body, because he was able to isolate some pathogen and connect them then to the development of disease. From that time, which was the end of the 1800s, this theory is currently still in place and widely accepted, that again, pathogens are what cause and lead to disease. Okay? So, Deborah is saying, hi Barbara, I'm told pathogens are part of my illness, disease. Of course, you are told. And Deborah, who told you that? That's, again, chime in so this can be an interactive conversation. I have a little less than an hour to complete this before I start my next group. But it's really important, you guys. And if you can't finish, it's okay. Just save the video or just subscribe to my YouTube channel. You're going to find it there. This is going to be a mind-blowing conversation. And if you have pen and paper and that you want to start writing some things down, I advise you to do so. Okay, so Deborah is saying, I'm told my pathogens are responsible for my illness. Holistic practitioners. Okay, I wonder where they learned that from. Where did they learn that from? From other practitioners? From books? Well, as we said, the germ theory is the accepted theory currently. And you'll be impressed because that's what is taught in medical school. But then there's a part of you guys that are following alternative and integrative medicine, and yet you're still like, you don't realize that a lot of the foundation of what these holistic practitioners are giving you are based on allopathic medicine, are based on dogmas that are still presented in medical school and not questioned. Now, they are questioned, but just not by the establishment, right? So let's understand how, so I described to you guys that the germ theory, meaning the pathogens are the leading cause of disease, meaning their presence in the body will lead to disease. So there's a known practitioner or a known spokesperson that talks about the presence of EBV, for instance, being a leading cause of a lot of diseases. probably most of them, I would say, innate, from cancer to autoimmune conditions, everything seemed to be related to one specific or different strains of one specific pathogen known as the EBV, okay? Then there are some other viruses and/or bacteria and/or fungi. Because you guys, if you have been diagnosed with Lyme, this is the prime example of pathogens can lead to disease. The root cause of Lyme today, it is believed to be a set of bacteria. They have invaded you and causing, harm to your health. But the same is if you have any type of imbalances, as I said, autoimmune conditions, there are a lot of practitioners that will believe that the leading cause is the presence of bacteria, fungi, parasites, and/or viruses in your body. And I can name hundreds of practitioners and very well-known doctors that have made a fortune, and they made their study of their own the whole career presenting this possibility. And then as they present the possibility, of course, based on this assumption, because again, you guys, this is an assumption. We can assume a lot of things. I can say the angels are responsible for my disease, because it's my karma. But the point is, everybody can make an assumption, then we have to go prove it. So all these practitioners and doctors for, at this point, a couple of centuries, have made their business to present to you solutions, if they have them. Most of the time, especially allopathic doctors, don't have them. So, but they're made their business to present to you a solution. So their assumption is, that pathogens are the presence, and this is important, you guys, write this word, the presence of pathogens in your body lead to disease. So if this is true, and they're not proving it to you, the only proof they have with some pathogens is that if they run a test, the pathogen is present in your body. But there's never been, up to today, an actual proof that pathogen's presence links to disease. So I just want to make sure that you understand this part, so I'm going to repeat this. The best that supporters of the germ theory, the so-called germ theory have been able to do is to isolate the presence of pathogens, specific pathogens, depending on who you're talking to. As I said, it could be the bacteria that lead to Lyme, it could be Candida, it could be different kind of parasites, it could be EBV, shingle viruses, you name it. All they've been able to do is to isolate the presence of those pathogens in the body. But none of them has been able to prove direct connection between that pathogen and the disease. So for instance, there's a lot of cancers, they are considered to be viral related. But how? Because by looking at the statistics and the studies done and the science, what they have seen is that, for instance, specific breast cancers, all patients with a specific type of breast cancers tend to have the same pathogen, the same presence inside of their body. People with a specific liver cancer, they also tend to have a specific bacteria inside of their liver, and so on and so on. So, but that is just an observation. So these people sick have this pathogen. So hence, their conclusion is this pathogen may be responsible, or in their case, they just give it to you as a certainty, is responsible for the development of that disease. Does it make sense? Okay. So now, what I'm here to tell you today is that the presence of pathogen, it is not enough to justify the development of disease. Why? Because we now know that a lot of pathogens are present within your body, even though you do not exhibit symptoms or eventually develop a specific disease. So in other words, we talk about, a lot of people have been talking about EBV as this ubiquitous virus that is present in everybody. So probably you've been convinced that a lot of your diseases and ailments are caused by EBV. Okay? So yet your husband, your daughter, your mother have the same virus, because there's such a highly transmissible viruses and family of viruses, they're hepatic viruses, I'm referring to, that if you have lived in an intimate lifestyle, and again, doesn't have to be just sexual, but of course that's an aspect. It could be just you drinking from the same glass of your child, is you birthing that child, and even friends. So the chances that close family members share not just the same virus but the same strain of virus are very high. And yet, look around you and tell me if everybody's sick the way you are. But if it was the presence of the virus or pathogens in the body to lead to disease, shouldn't they all be sick? Right? I want you guys to kind of let this sink in. And I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to start kind of asking yourself questions and see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So, if it was the presence of viruses or pathogens in the body to lead to disease, shouldn't we all be sick? Or at least, shouldn't we all who share the same type of pathogens be sick? I give you the chance and the time to respond to this question for yourself. Now, people would be like, but Barbara, what do you know? Well, because I'm a very scientific and research-oriented person, I did my own research, my own clinical research. So when I have clients, especially with autoimmune condition, I run some stool tests. Now, I've seen a lot of pee, because you guys probably know by lymphatic reset, we do a lot of pee tests, and I've seen a lot of poops. Not necessarily the poop per se, but the results of the stool test. You'll be amazed if you were to test your stool today of the amount of so-called pathogens that you will find in your stool. So I found pathogens such as E. coli, as the C. difficile, that in itself, themselves, they're present, in quantity, will kill the person. And yet the person exhibited no symptoms of what could be, pancreatitis or other type of illnesses that seem to be connected to the presence of diseases. H. pylori, for instance, candida. Stool test of people who exhibited no symptoms of these so-called diseases connected to the pathogens. So what does that mean? Again, we started this conversation saying that the proponents of germ theories base their assumption on the fact that the presence of the virus or pathogen is linked directly to the development of a certain disease. Why? Simply by observation and studies on the fact that people with already that exhibited symptoms of specific disease, whether it's MS or cancer, different kind of cancers, or different kind of autoimmune conditions, Lyme, and you name it, they all seem to have, clusters of pathogens that were consistent with all the people that had this disease. Okay, so again, they were not, up to today, able to prove the direct link between the presence of that pathogen and the development of disease. Then I gave you this other example, which is, okay, so if you all in your household share those pathogens, how come not all the people in your household are sick? So Diana is saying, I love this. So chime in and tell me what your thoughts are. We all have different toxic levels though, so some people's immune system can manage the viruses and others cannot. Okay, this is a great point, Diana, and now we're getting closer to what we're going to discuss next. So Diana is introducing some diversity, meaning, well, something must be different in that person's body, correct? Wonderful. Because you see, just lay people just like us can come up with these brilliant, ideas. So wait, so my husband is not sick as I am due to EBV, although 100% he has it, because something is different inside of his body, right? All right, so let's go and check this out. What is different inside of Diana's husband's body, for instance? Well, Diana is saying different level of toxicity so that the immune system. So she is talking about two things here. One is their different level of toxicity in the body, 100% true. And this level of toxicity affects the way the immune system responds. Okay, she is onto something here, right? What? Okay, so Diana is introducing for us the concept that in order for a pathogen to thrive and replicate, Something must happening or not happening in our body. So wait a minute. So it's not the pathogen. It's our immune system. So if the pathogen comes in, it finds us in a specific situation, we'll have a fertile ground to thrive and replicate. But if he comes in, and just like in our husband, for instance, it finds him in a different situation, might not be able to thrive. So did we just discuss now, just in basic layman terms, that the pathogen, it is not the cause, but something else inside of the body may be? That is called terrain. And Diana just basically broke down for us what terrain theory means, that is in direct opposition to the germ theory that we just discussed this morning. Does it make sense, you guys? Are you following me? So, you've been told that pathogens are responsible, but pathogen replicating, pathogen thriving and overpopulating are a consequence. Guys, Diana wrote it, and I don't know who Diana is. I don't know if she's a doctor or whatnot, but when I asked, how come if the presence of pathogens, any pathogens, you guys, we're discussing pathogens with a big P, right? Capital P. So fungi, parasites, bacteria, viruses, you name it, right? So if their presence in the body, in our body, was enough for us to get sick, why are we not all sick? Because again, I said, look at your family and know that whatever viruses and pathogens you have, you share it. You've shared it. You birthed your children. You've been intimate with your husband. You're eating from your mother's spoon, from your friend's glass. You share it. So then we understand by visual observation that it cannot be that the simple mere presence of a pathogen inside of your body is leading to disease. Something else must be happening, right? And so Diana said, not me, Diana said, well, we all have different toxic levels. So she started to introduce another keyword, which is toxins. Toxins apparently affects the way pathogens behave. And I will actually rephrase this, but toxins affects the way the body reacts to pathogens. So without maybe even knowing this, Diana just introduced for us the terrain theory, which means it's not the problem, the pathogen that comes in. The problem is what terrain, meaning our body, what kind of condition our terrain is on, that may or may not favor the proliferations of pathogens. Now, the proliferation of pathogens can absolutely lead to disease, but it is not the cause. Does it make sense? I want to repeat this one more time. The proliferation of pathogens can absolutely lead to disease, but it is not the cause. It's a consequence. Wait a minute, Barbara. What are you saying this? Because I really see someone asking Deborah, how do you fix the terrain? So she's like, okay, I got it. How do you fix the terrain? Okay, so if you're following my drift here, and again, this is visual observation, common sense. This is common sense medicine, you guys. And people are ignoring it left to right. You'll have to ask yourself what's behind it. Where's the money, right? There's always a conversation, but this is not for today. So, if the mere presence of pathogens, it is not the cause of the disease, but a consequence, then what causes disease? Isn't that the $1 million question that everybody wants to know? Okay, so let's unpack that. And I wanted to give you this visual in case you guys... Diana is telling us, yes, I didn't get ill until I was exposed to mycotoxins that suppressed my immune system, allowing pathogens, viruses to emerge. I also had breast implant, which also suppressed my immune system. I did not become ill until my cup spilled over from toxicity. And I love that you use this metaphor of the cup, because I have my own communicating basis theory that also spill, and that's when you become symptomatic. So I love that Diana is chiming in, and I love that she's sharing her experience. So let's take it from where we left. So if the presence of pathogens is not enough to cause disease, because look around you, right? We're not all sick. the same way, although we share the same pathogens, but is a mere consequence, then what is the cause? And again, I want to give you this visual. It's basically saying there was an accident on the freeway. The cause of the accident is that there are cars on the freeway. So the solution is to eliminate all cars. Do you follow me? This is the delusion that you're currently living in, or most of you are living in. Do you understand? You have been convinced that because there was an accident on the freeway, the cause of the accident was the presence of cars on the street. So hence the solution and the protocol that you've been following or you've been given, it's to eliminate all cars from the street. Because there was an accident on the freeway in that specific city, in that specific state, in that specific country. Let's eliminate all cars from the street. This is basic layman terms. A child will understand this. So, I know you're smart and I know you're watching, so you're interested in this. You maybe agree with me or maybe kind of to start to see where I'm going with this. So, the news is we are hosts. You know what host means? You know, you guys, in terms of where did I get my information and my clinical observation, oh, COVID taught us so much. Things we already knew, but we just didn't want to believe or see. But COVID just was a great teacher. So we are hosts and we harbor trillions of pathogens. And by pathogens, some and by microorganisms, I should say, some more friendly than others. And yet our well-being and our health, our balance, depends on the great balance between these two, friendly microorganism and unfriendly microorganisms. My daughter will call them, she's 5, bad bugs, good bugs. And since she was 3, we started to talk about this already. She knows of the presence of bad bugs and good bugs. Although, I think the bed bugs are getting a bad rap, and we should talk about that too. But okay, so we all host this. And when I told you guys that I run stool tests with my clients, and I find in those poop so many pathogens that in number will kill that person, then you have to understand about how is this person having E. coli, Candida, pylori, all of it, and yet she's not sick or not particularly sick, not dead, not with cancer. How come? Because as I said, the mere presence is not enough, is the quantity. So what allows that pathogens to come in and not just stay, sorry, here is my phone and everybody's messaging this morning, and not just stay in a state of, you know, like Diana mentioned, like my immune system can take care of it. But you know, taking care of it doesn't mean eliminating the pathogen. And that's another myth that we need to debunk. When people tell you that you can eliminate and eradicate EBV, they're delusional because you're never gonna eradicate EBV. No, you want it. You don't want to eradicate EBV. You don't want to eradicate Candida. You don't want to eradicate, you know, all these pathogens that we've been discussing. Why? Because as I said, your health lies in the balance of these bad bugs and the good bugs, the friendly ones and the unfriendly ones. Their balance, exercise your immune system to the point that it gets stronger and stronger, and as long as it has the happy end, right? This balance is like the seesaw. Is that a seesaw thing for where kids go? As long as that level is balanced, you're healthy, and your immune system needs that exercise. Removing all the pathogens does not do a great service to you and your immune system either. So, but going back to Diana, what causes the pathogens to replicate in one person and not in the other? So Diana introduced the concept of toxins. Okay, this is true. Now, what are we understanding as toxins? So she says we all have different toxic level. Okay. Toxins are environmental pollution, right? So environmental toxins, and could be, and then, you know, guys know, right? Heavy metals, pesticides, mold, EMF. We can talk about, and Kasha is then giving us the cherry on the cake here. So environmental toxins, just one toxicity, right? Kasha is now adding stress. For me, the tipping point was the stress. And I love you guys that you already comprehend. Someone said, my vase overspilled. Now Kasha is talking about tipping point. That implies that there's some kind of reservoir that we keep filling up, right? And then at some point, when we're at capacity, this tilts and spills. And there is when you get sick. Right? So I invite you, and I'll post it, to watch my video. I will do a new live maybe this weekend about my communicating basis theory. But let's continue on the pathogen being the cause of your disease. So granted that most of us, if not all of us, harbors tons and trillions of microorganisms, some of them friendly, but unfriendly when? When they multiply. So what happens? What allows the body what allows these pathogens to thrive and multiply in one body and not in the other, despite the presence of these pathogens in both bodies, right? You and your husband, you and your kid. What? There has to be circumstances. So some of you said toxins, and I said environmental toxins. Some could be coming from the food you eat. But you guys, I'm revising, I'm going through this awakening path here, and although I start as a nutritional therapist, I'm putting less and less emphasis, and you guys see from what I've been talking about, on food and more on the conditions around which food is consumed. But that's why when you go on vacation, you're not sick, but that's another story. So some food, some environmental toxins, some exposure, right? Maybe if you've had some chemicals injected in you, some, drugs consumption, some jibbity jab, here and there. So different type of toxins. But Kasha then told us, well, stress did it for me. Is stress considered a toxin? 100%. Why? Because it toxifies your body. When you are stressed, your body changes the chemistry and becomes more toxic, more acidic. It starts to produce hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, for once, just to name it two, because as a response to the stress, right? So stress, it is a toxins that is a very, very heavy. So when I talk in my communicating basis theory, stress alone weighs more than metals. And then I don't even put viruses as toxins, because again, viruses and pathogens, if you have followed my conversation here today, are present, omnipresent. You've had EBV probably since you were born, and other type of herpetic viruses. You've had different type of bacteria, from Candida to pylori, since you were born, since you start being, sexually active, since you start going out, since you start putting your fingers in your mouth and other people's mouths. And, I have a 5-year-old, and this happens all the time. So you share this. And do you think that if you have faith in whoever created us, however you want to personify the God, the universe, whatever, do you think that they miss that point? Oh, these people are going to interact. They're going to share all these pathogens. And so that's going to lead to their, to their demise. This was by design. We were supposed to exchange everything, love, feelings, including pathogens. Okay? So when I have clients telling me, I've been so convinced that my problems are the pathogens, that now I'm doing what I can to eradicate them, which I already told you that's a myth. No, you should want to do that, because you weren't designed for that. You weren't designed to clean yourself up from pathogens. You're designed to create that balance between the pathogens, between the microorganisms in your body. And then they're like, well, I'm not dating. I'm not having sex. I'm not going out because I'm afraid I'm going to get it back, or I'm going to give it. Imagine, is that person happy? Clearly not. Is that person stressed eventually and depressed? And yes. And what do you think that reservoir that we talked about the body changes? It acidifies because you're lonely, because you're going to think you're going to die healthy without pathogens, but lonely and alone. Why? Because you're not in a relationship, because you think that, a relationship could affect you negatively, because again, this brainwashing of the germ theory is taking over in a way that, again, in layman terms, a child could explain to you that that's not possible. That is not possible, to believe that germs are what is harming us. Not many people know that even Louis Pasteur that it seemed the forefather of the germ theory on his deathbed said, I was mistaken. It was never the germ. It was the terrain. So I hope you understand that part now. So now we are in the realm of the terrain. So how do pathogens find our body when they come in? And I'm talking about novel viruses like COVID, for instance, or how pathogens that have been in our body for as long as we can remember, all of a sudden, out of the blue, they start replicating. And now we have high level of different kind of bacteria and pathogen and parasites and viruses. But make no mistake, they didn't just happen to you. You didn't wake up at 35 with EBV. EBV has been in your body for a while, but it was kept in check and you were stronger because of it. Not everybody with EBV has ever experienced mono. I have EBV, I never had mono. Trust me, I'll know you would know if you had mono. It's not something, oh, it went undetected. No, I have EBV, I don't have mono. Because the pathogens don't behave the same in your body because our bodies are not the same, right? So what changes? The toxins, yes. But what contributes to create toxin that affect then our ability, the immune system ability to take care, to keep the pathogens in check? So as we discuss, external toxins, yes, because if you're exposed to cadmium and lead, if you eat lead, if you have 10 fillings of mercury in your body, of course it's an exposure, right? If you live in the city, your lungs are probably in worse shape than someone that lives in the countryside. Yes. There are not really a lot of proofs, but if you eat organic, right, maybe you shed some pesticides, you remove some pesticides from your diet. However, you guys, our clinical observation, and again, my 5-year-old observation will tell you that how come that Nonna in Italy eats gluten, doesn't buy organic because she can't afford it, and yet Nonna and the aunts and uncles and cousins are not all sick? Meanwhile, in America, God forbid someone is not eating organic. So, why? Because there's something that Diana, you need to be my assistant here. She's on it. So, fight or flight. We cannot heal when we are in a state of survival. Welcome to the plague, the true plague of modern society. Diana is talking about the fact that our stress levels are so chronic and so high that change the chemistry of our body on a chronic level, not in once in a while I'm stressed or I'm on a fight or flight. All of you are on fight or flight every single day. Now, Diana is saying we even need parasites only when our immune system is suppressed, that our body cannot keep parasites in check. True, although I want to put an asterisk here, Diana, and now we're going to go back to this, our body cannot keep the parasites in check. So, and the asterisk is our body not able to keep the parasites in check, or our body doesn't want to keep the parasites in check, okay? So that might blow your mind too. Point number 3. So Diana is saying we're in a fight or flight. Okay, so we're stressed. That's the real pandemic here. Chronic stress changes the chemistry of our body. Have you heard somewhere, I'm pretty sure if you're here watching, if you are a health warrior, everybody telling you everything starts from the gut, right? Functional medicine has made it a big, flag of everything starts from the gut. Everybody left and right is talking to you about microbiome. So then they tell you, okay, if everything starts from the gut, let's check what is going to affect the microbiome. What do they tell you? Toxins. Yeah, sure, toxins. Viruses, pathogens are toxins, so they affect the microbiome. Your diet affected by the microbiome. And again, that's what they're telling you, right? And stress affects your microbiome, right? When you are in a constant state of fight or flight, the three major functions that you shut down by design, it's digestion, rest, and detoxification. But that's detoxification. I made the whole my whole culture of lymphatic reset about detoxification and inability to detoxify. But let's stay with the microbiome and how, if you accept, like Diana suggested, that we are in a constant state of fight or flight, we have to accept that we are, by design, that's how we were designed, we're by design developing a chronic impairment in our ability to digest, to rest, and to detoxify. Because how many of you, I can count anymore, have come to me because they are experiencing sleeping disorders? If you're in a fight or flight, by design, you're not supposed to have restful sleep. You need to run away from that big animal that is chasing. If you are in a constant state of fight or flight, by default, you cannot digest. Why? Because this is not the time to sit down and digest and have a good meal with your friends like you do when you're on vacation, when everything seems to work and not affecting you. All of a sudden, allergies, sensitivities no longer exist. Why? Because you freaking digest them. You can digest that food. But when you go back to your regular life, you are in a fight or flight and freeze mode regularly, chronically. So you can digest the food. Doesn't matter. It could be an apple. You might not be able to digest it depending how stressed you are. Because by design, we turn off that mechanism. So I love how people love to take their philosophy and say, medical medium is all about the viruses. Okay, but how did the viruses even get there? And why is this virus replicating in this person and not in this one? But it starts from the assumption that, well, it starts with the viruses. No, it doesn't. Functional medicine tells you it starts with the gut. But okay, but how is the gut disrupted? And the assumption is the gut is disrupted, so let's do something for the gut. But again, what you're looking at are consequences. The disruption of the microbiome is a consequence, it's not a cause. The virus is multiplying and populating and the whole the medical medium saga as to the stages of the viruses. It's a consequence, it's not a cause. But you being on a state of fight or flight and freeze mode, also known as sympathetic dominant state, is what is turning off your digestion, turning off your detox mechanism. So your toxins are recirculating. And what happens? Oh, medical medium tells us that the pathogens feed off of toxins. I wonder, where are these pathogens finding these toxins? Well, if they're not going out, the pathogens are eating them. Oh, would that be then a reason why these pathogens are able to replicate in this person and not in that person? Yes, yes, yes. So you see how the pathogens, the presence of the pathogens per se, it's not the cause. When you look at viral replication, when you look at even overgrowth of candida, the pylori. I have a client, she's actually watching, Laura. She said, well, I had pylori, I took some antibiotics and then pylori is gone. No, pylori is not gone. If I do a stool test, I'll find your pylori in there, but you don't have the symptoms for pylori anymore. Why? Because, and that is the asterisk, Diana, that I wanted to put, I think it was Diana, when she says, well, so she's following what we're discussing here, and she's saying, well, you know, we have all these pathogens until our cup is full and our immune system is suppressed, and so it can't keep the pathogens in check. That is a good, viable, making sense, and accepted in some areas, that the reason why then the vase spills and then we become symptomatic. But I would like to introduce, and that might be mind-blowing and it might need to take a second for you guys to kind of think about it and see how it resonates with you. It might be that if we were born or inherited, I mean, at this point, you guys, you think that you are this, but every cell in your body holds the history of everybody that came before you. So don't be mistaken by the fact that, oh, kids, people are telling me kids are being born already sick. So every cell, so it's not just the cells you got from your mom and your dad and your grandparents, your ancestors, and so on and so on. So if you are being born with pathogens, and in fact we were designed to host them, and our well-being depends on the healthy balance between the two, how come at some point H. pylori just raise his head and say, and by the way, now I'm multiplying, or candida, which you all have, all of a sudden raise its head and it's like, and now I have an candida overgrowth, and now I have an EBV. What do you mean? I have EBVs reactivated. How come? Is it possible, just throwing out there, that since these pathogens, and that, sorry, I need to formulate a better thought, but please hear me out here, because probably it's the best thing that you can get out of this life. You have to accept that these trillions of microorganisms that are living within your body are moved by an innate intelligence. Please say yes or no. Do you agree? Do you see what I see? Do you see what my 5-year-old sees? That the pathogens that inhabit our body are moved by an innate intelligence. Tell me yes or no, you guys. I need you to chime in. Yes, Kasha. Awesome. Okay. Why? Because who tells that pathogen that has to eat up on toxins to, to multiply? What is that vital force that moves those pathogens to then know what they need to, what they need to do, and now they have to invade the host? And you may be surprised that viruses, in fact, invade parasites inside of your body. So at times, you may try to eradicate viruses, not knowing that there are viruses inside of the parasites inside of your body. But anyway, who is telling these pathogens to move? The same innate intelligence that tells your body how to fix this wound when you cut yourself. Oh, wait a minute. So again, you guys, this must be the most mind-blowing statement of this life. And I'm saying this to you guys because you're advanced. So if we accept that even the pathogens, even the ones that we're still being taught out there that we need to be so afraid of, are moved by an innate intelligence, then my question is, are these pathogens moved by an innate intelligence that is in antagonism with our own? Or do they come from the same innate intelligence? Come on, chime in. I want to see what you think. So my question is, these pathogens that you just agreed, yes, that must be moved by an intelligence, because who tells them to behave the way they behave? Are they moved by an intelligence that is in antagonism to ours? The same that allow us to heal the wounds, get pregnant, give birth, just go back to life, 36 hours later. Or is an antagonist energy? Or could it be that it is a synergistic energy? Go. What are your thoughts? Come on, guys, chime in. I got a group in 30 minutes. There is only one source, Kasha. There is only one source. So, we said at the beginning that we agree, and most of people that are telling you how much your gut is disrupted and how much the EBV is responsible for your health, they all do agree that your health is in direct relationship to the balance. We were born this way. We were designed this way. Most likely, the energy that moves this pathogen is the same energy that moves the non-pathogenic part of us, because we are more microorganisms that are non-human than human cells. You know that, right? So this equilibrium is moved by the same innate intelligence. So could it be that when, you remember the asterisks, if you guys have been following so far, Diana said, well, we're good until we're not good anymore. And so our immune system can keep the parasites in check, and then we get sick. But I'm opening up a door here, and hopefully, it's going to blow your mind if you're following me. Could it be that these pathogens are not our enemies? In fact, they've been with us most likely since we can remember, but they are the body's plan B and C and D. So that instead of having this big bad, boogeyman there that is coming to attack you, the body signals Candida to grow, to do a job that in this moment the Candida is not able to, the body is not able to do. Follow me here, don't lose me. Meaning, chronic state of fight or flight, turning off digestive, resting, and detoxing mechanism by design. We'll agree on that. Then, I can't digest my food because I'm not producing the acids and the enzymes I need, because I'm supposed to be running from the beast. Even though I'm laying down in my bed, I'm in a state of chronic fight or flight. I'm in a sympathetic dominant state. So I can't digest this food. It's fermenting, it's gassing, it's feeding pathogens. So the body signals Candida and said, listen, you know what Candida is? It's a fungi. You know what fungi is? It's a decomposer. What? So yes, the body is signaling his friend Candida. So it's not that the body, his immune system is suppressed and so it's like not looking. Meanwhile, Candida is going to town in our body. The body's connection, synergistic relationship with pathogens is saying, please grow, gobble up the stuff that I can't digest because right now I'm in a sympathetic state, fight or flight, I can't digest, I can't produce acids for the love of God, so you take care of it. It is not functional, but it keeps you alive, and that's what the body's job is. It keeps you alive. Because if Candida didn't come, you wouldn't be able to digest that food. And yes, then you have Candida overgrowth, yes. And that's fermentation, and that's what caused Candida to, yes. But it's better than the alternative, which is this food just does not get metabolized. So, did I blow your mind or what? I mean, for me, this makes not just so much sense, but it kind of puts me in a different space in the universe. Because up to now, there's people out there that wants you to believe that you are a victim. And then there's all this bad, boogeyman out there ready to catch you, ready to put you down. And do you think that that's how God, the universe, whatever, the creator has, created us? So that we were so defenseless. Oh my God, we are at the mercy. How of all these pathogens? How did we even get here? I mean, we should be dead. I mean, right now we're so uber conscious of even washing our food, zapping. Do you know that people zap the food? That's mind blowing to me. Anyway, they zap the food, they wash the food. God forbid a pathogen pass through your mouth. Do you understand? I heard the medical medium man, because he's a man, he's not a saint, he's not a god, saying that he asked the spirit if there's a pathogen on the knob. I mean, jaw drop much? What? How are you living with yourself? I don't know what kind of life is that. But Jesus, what are you telling people? You're freaking them out because they got no spirit and they don't know. So what, they're going to wear gloves and they're going to be like, in fact, they're going to be like, I don't have sex. I don't want to have a relationship. God forbid I get. Do you understand the culture? And then you've seen this amplified during COVID, where the establishment made sure that you felt that way. There was a big boogeyman out there that was, God forbid, enters your body. And yet, millions of people went through COVID. And just like yours truly here, felt so much better after COVID. You guys. So people are asking, what do we do to fix this? What is the solution? All right, so if we are in agreement that pathogens are not our enemies and we actually live in synergistic relationship with them, that is already my goal for today. 8 minutes to go before my next group. So the solution then is a different approach. What is the approach? Diana, come here. I know you got it. Diana, where are you? We are in a constant state of fight or flight. If proliferation of pathogens, fear will keep you in a fight or flight. Got it? She's got it. Seriously, reach out to me. We're going to work together. You got it. So fear will keep you in a fight or flight. Fear of what? Then watch my videos from yesterday's and the days before. How did we all freaking out? Why are we all freaking out? What are we afraid of? Right? So we're going to work on our trauma, ladies. We're going to work on our stress levels. And you know that once you work up, because the trauma keeps you in a state of fear. The state of fear keeps you in a chronic state. Because, when you get your dog that crosses the street and you stop your breathing because you're afraid that a car is going to hit it, then that's a normal, scare. You go on a sympathetic state, you hold your breath, you shut down a bunch of things, but then the dog is safe, thank God. You bring it back home, you say, don't ever do that, bring it home, and that's it, right? But what happens is what is killing us is our chronic level of stress. But where does it come from? Why is it chronic? Why doesn't it just resolve after the dog comes back safely home? Why are you guys obsessed about the health of your children? Why are you obsessed about your health? Why are you afraid to die? Why are you afraid of pain? We talked about this. We addressed this yesterday. Because of the trauma of the past. So how do you fix this? Deborah say, I've been in fear for 5 years with a diagnosis I never believed I had. Well, so why were you in fear if you never believed it, Deborah? So how do we fix that? Now, if you believe that, if you follow me, which I think is pretty mind-blowing, then drop the antiviral protocols, because it's just like, seriously, delusional and childish at this point. Drop the antiviral protocol. It's not the problem, because viruses are not the problems. Ask why our body decided to just let the, Also, when you think about the immune system down and viruses taking over, there's this, again, idea of fighting. The enemies are taking over. But what we have rephrased today with the synergistic approach that is beyond the terrain theory, but is also more of a, what is my place in this earth, on this world, and what does that all mean? And how do we close this cycle, this circle? Then you drop the fight against your friendly pathogens, right? They're there to support you in case of need. They're called Plan B, not Plan A, but you guys, you're living on Plan B and C and D. Do you believe? You will not have diseases if you're living on Plan A. So rest assured that the Plan B of the usage or the proliferation of pathogens, it is a way to keep you alive. So then work on the true cause, not on the consequences. Don't shoot the messenger. Drop all of your antivirals. Right now, go in the kitchen, throw away all of your antivirals. With that, also throw away your fear of what will happen if you do throw them away. Okay? Because you've got this. Just start focusing on the real cause, not consequences or messengers, which is you live in a constant state of fight or flight. You are chronically stressed. This is the real pandemic of our modern times. Where does that come from? From the unresolved traumas. So how do you fix your EBV overgrowth? Resolve your trauma. And now I hope you understand this circle. EBV overgrowth is just a messenger, it's just a consequence. Resolve your trauma, live a free life and fearless life. And then the friendly and unfriendly pathogen are going to have that balance. Why? Because the body doesn't have to call Candida to do the work that it can do. Why? Because you can digest. Why? Because you actually can relax. Why? Because you can look at life from eyes of possibilities and not eyes of just waiting for something bad to happen to you, which in itself keeps you in a state of fight or flight. Have you noticed? Now that you know how many possible diseases can catch you, you're just there waiting to catch them all or leaving to try to avoid them. This is not a life, you guys. And whoever sends you these messages, it is a person or a group of people, a lot of them, that should be disbarred. There was a bar. I mean, they're dangerous messages. Because someone has said to me, 5 years. 5 years, you're still like this? 5 years? What? No, you guys. We can fix this in 2 months. In 2 months, not 5 years, 2 months. And once we start getting integrated, mind, body, and soul, disease cannot touch you. Why? Because it doesn't have to. Because we have to reframe the concept of disease and what disease is. Disease is something outside of us, and God is something that we need to avoid of all, possibilities. Like, that's why we did the live yesterday. And you're so afraid of it. But disease is part of who you are. It's another mechanism to tell you, hey, you're not doing it. You're not doing it. You're not living the life you were supposed to. You're living someone else's life. So the life of someone that is ridden with fear. And on autopilot, watch my live from yesterday, we talked about the autopilot syndrome. So find your purpose. Dismantle this trauma and see if disease arises. Guys, I have clinical experience beside my own personal of hundreds and hundreds of clients who have come through me, even through the lymphatic reset. And then did soul circle and things just change for them. So I've decided to create a 2-day workshop to guide you through this, you guys. I'll post some information later, but because I want to reach as many people as possible. With Soul Circle, if you guys know, we can have a group that is 5 to 6 people. Why? Because it's hands-on and we all have to work, you know, for 6 weeks and each one has to speak and say that. So if you are called to join Soul Circle, do that at barbaramonconi-smith.com. But I am coming up with a 2-day seminar to address this hands-on work seminar, 4 hours each day. You have to devote a weekend, but I'm going to take you from A to Z on how you can undo all of this, and then be finding not just your health, but be a beacon of light for the people around you. Start reshifting your relationship within you and your kids and your spouse and your parents, and finally get back the life that you're meant to live, which is go on this date night, go and drink that glass of wine. Now, again, the balance, right? Balance with everything. So drinking every day is not balanced. But being afraid that, oh my God, if I drink something is gonna happen. If I have a piece of gluten, no. If you feel so called, look at Barbara Monconi-Smith. Join the retreat coming up, a retreat of a lifetime in Italy, in the heart of Chianti, in Tuscany. You guys, it's gonna be life shifting. And people are like, well, so there are payment plans, yes. But also I wanna ask you, how much money are you gonna lose once you are bedridden and unable to work or take care of your kids or your family? So how about we undo all that? We drop the sense of scarcity, the mentality of scarcity that comes with fear, and the mentality of it's not possible, it's impossible, and start putting the spaces where you need them. So in the word impossible, you start reading I am possible. Because where life unfolds, it's the part of life, it's where possibilities arise. So you don't need to know how, but just start to ask yourself, am I done with this? Do I want to drop my fears, drop my diseases, drop my chronic illnesses, and just start to live the life that I was meant to live on this earth, the reason why I incarnated here and now? So if the answer is yes, again, we can work together in many ways. Join the summit that I'm going to, the webinar I'm going to put together. Join the Soul Circle. Come to the retreat. You guys. So Deborah said, this is true. I used to be outgoing, fun, and happy. You guys, do you think that your creator created you so that at some point you'll be so miserable for the rest of your however long life you try to extend in the miserable way? No, I mean, I know that your soul, because when I look at the eyes of our little children we have at school, they know. So I invite everybody in Soul Circle to get a photo of themselves when they were 3, 4, or 5. Look on those eyes, you guys. You know, deep down, your innate intelligence knows that this is not the life you are meant to live. And if you're tired, then I can help. Again, you have to be tired. It has to hurt enough for you to want to make a change. If you're not there, it's fine. I hope that this gave you some food for thought to kind of question even the things that you've been told, or all the supplements that you're eating and taking and following, and whatever that is, constant detoxy 369, cleanse this, liver detox. At least question it, okay? At least ask that 6-year-old self, is that really how we wanted it? Is that here how we envision it? And whenever it hurts too much, just say, this is not the life I wanted. I mean, Deborah that says, I used to be outgoing, fun, and happy. Deborah, you have the birth-given right to still be the outgoing, fun, and happy self. Don't let anybody take that away from you, because what's going to kill you is not the virus or the disease. It's that your pilot light, the inner pilot light, it's dimmed to the point that it's no longer there. And when that is done, then you're ready to move on to the next life. So guys, if you're ready to change and get back to be the outgoing, fun, and happy person that you used to be, or maybe never even been, just discover that there's the one happy, outgoing, funny person in each one of you, then reach out. Okay? 10:03. Gotta rush to the other group. Love you guys.